Almost loading. Oh, hi guys, my name's Jen, and today I'm very, very lucky to be sitting here with the CEO and founder or co-founder, sorry,
Co-founder.
co-founder of RemodelMate. Who the hell are you?
Yeah. What's going on, everybody? My name is Chad Hall. I'm the co-founder and CEO of RemodelMate. We're an online marketplace that allows people to book and manage their renovations through the internet. We came up with the idea when, at least here in the States, everybody looks at HGTV and says, oh man, that's so easy, right? I can say like, here's my budget. It's really something that's way too big considering what they do. Like the husband will say, oh, I collect stamps for a living. And, his partner is saying, I clean video games at the local arcade. We have a $700,000 budget. It's like, oh. Like we want to do this. We've got 6 weeks to do it. And then 43 minutes later, it's like, yeah, here's my brand new house. It's so awesome. And renovations don't actually happen like that in real life. It is a little bit harder,
And noisier.
And noisier. But we were compelled by that idea. We said, while it's not ever going to be quite that easy, it could be at least an order of magnitude better than it is today. Yeah. And maybe we start with that idea of set your project, let us know what your budget is, and tell us what timeline you're working on. Those are data points you can build an algorithm on to connect a homeowner to the perfect contractor for the job without having them to do any vetting or be an expert in any one of those verticals. And then 2 years later, here we are, $1 million in sales and growing.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really exciting. And so from, I guess, the first point you had that idea to getting an MVP going, what were what was your view on what you wanted to do, and then what actually then happened on taking those first steps?
Yeah, so I didn't talk too much about this. I'm originally from New York. My father was a contractor. So growing up, my brother and I were always on job sites. We learned how to put in windows and doors when we were still in primary school. And so that's one thing where a construction, I've been around this space before, I'm comfortable with this space, and it's not really rocket science.
Yeah.
Then I went to the University of Maryland. Originally, I thought I was going to study medicine, and then realized that I don't really care about anatomy. Took a business internship, got really good at sales, and then I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Then I got a chance to work at a construction company where I did marketing, I did sales, I did supply chain management, and I figured out that most construction companies have set labor rates, so they pay their installers a wage, and then part of the operations team is to figure out how to get economies of scale. So you work with your vendors and say, like, I will purchase a window from you for $200 a window, regardless of the size, shape, whatever. Yeah. So I had that idea, and I said, okay, if we know what our labor costs are, if we know what our materials cost are, why aren't we selling these things through the internet? Then should be able to say, I want 10 windows. Each window costs $400 once you include the labor and the materials. We say it's $4,000, and then she cuts us a check when she's ready. Like, we should get rid of our whole sales team, which at the time would have been me putting myself out of a job. Yeah. But they said, no, that'll never work. So I said, I think it'll work one day. But I didn't have the skill set. So at the time to go and build this company, and I was making good money and all this other stuff. So I didn't pursue it. Yeah. So then I worked at Living Social, a tech company like Groupon, where we sold daily deals and connected merchants to customers. I said, okay, now I understand how a two-sided marketplace actually works. Yeah. And I actually don't want to build a marketplace. It's really, really hard. What I'm going to do is build a SaaS company and use this as a way to court contractors who know their labor costs and likely have their own materials vendors that they work with and just tell them, like, use our site to do your proposals and accept payments, all these things that blue collar workers weren't really adapting, that I think could improve their business.
Yep.
I built that, and none of the contractors wanted it. They said, this is another thing that I have to do.
Yep.
And quite frankly, I just don't want to do it. So instead, what we did was say, okay, well, what is it that you guys want? And they said, I just want more jobs. So I said, okay, great. How much are you willing to pay for more jobs? Yep. And they said, well, I really hate Angie's List. I really hate Home Advisor because I pay for leads that get sold to a dozen other contractors. So if you could figure out a way to bring me a job that only I get, and it's a job that I can do, I'd be willing to pay you a percentage of that. I said, okay. Yeah. That actually is not that far off from the Living Social model, which I'm very familiar with, right?
Yeah.
Bringing customers and do a revenue share. So we executed on that plan. And of course, there were a couple other steps in between, like the first version and that. But those are like really the two big aha moments. I thought I was going to build a SaaS company. The market said, I want a marketplace because directories and advertising. So nobody wanted a SaaS company. All the other companies were doing advertising businesses, basically. Yes. And then the market, I'm willing to do a marketplace. So I said, okay, I guess I'm going to build a marketplace. And I've been too stupid to stop.
We won't hold it against you. No, that's awesome. And, building something like this and then the team around it, you've got to learn on the job as you go. So yeah. As part of the founding team and as well as your co-founders, how did you guys kind of work it out and make sure that you were staying ahead of the curve as much as possible?
So one of the cultural tenets that we have, so there's a couple. The first one that we talk to a lot is brevity, clarity, force.
Yep.
So if we can't describe an idea in a sentence or less, it's not brief enough, it's not short enough. And if we don't get it, then there's no way our customer is going to get it. Yep. Clarity, we avoid marketing speak as much as possible. Yep. Just because, again, like the whole point is this is already a confusing experience. Yep. So if we're going to be different, then we have to really undo everything that there is about construction today. Yeah. And then force is that we should be trying to really blow back anybody's hair with anything that we do. Yeah. So when we take a look at those three things, it really drives all of our decision making at the company. Can we explain it in a sentence or less? Is it easy enough for anybody to understand? And then is it compelling? Even when we don't know answers, those are the things that guide us. Yeah. The things that we look for is like we only recruit for, we don't look for specialists at this time. Like you need to have the ability to be versatile, master new skills quickly. We look for a really high sense of enthusiasm. So a lot of times people might use the word passion, but I think that passion and enthusiasm are two different things. So you can be passionate about a problem, but not want to run off and fix it. I think then enthusiasm is like you're excited to go and do this thing, right?
It's a passion.
And the other thing, yeah, I think it's like passion on steroids. Yep. So my personal favorite definition of success is moving from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. So I think that's where it comes from. I was also I'm a member of a fraternity, and we believe that three people with really good with the right enthusiasm are better than 30 people that are lukewarm. Yep. And that nothing great in the world happens without the right type of enthusiasm. Outside of that, look for like people genuine thoughts about, like, so we argue a lot. You got to have big ambitions. So if you're trying to build a really small company or a derivative of something else that already exists, we're not really interested. And then you got to be convicted that you got to have the conviction that we are building the solution for the world, right? How we go about figuring that out, I think our favorite amongst the team is probably disagree and commit.
Yes.
So the really hard part about building startups, marketplaces or otherwise, is that you're trying to bring together 2 or 3 very smart people, people that are all in their own right qualified to lead. But then at the end of the day, like one person, the buck has to stop with somebody.
Yes.
So in our respective fields, mine being sales, John's being marketing, Logan's being operations. If ever we can't come to a unanimous decision, then the person who has the most previous experience
makes that
thing will make the decision, but also will be held accountable to whether or not it was actually the best decision, which is sometimes stressful, but it allows the team to understand that, like, this person wouldn't be giving this idea, just for their own glorification. They're probably, all the other things that we talk about, conviction, ambition, enthusiastic about this. And really all they need is everybody to commit for this 2-week test. So we don't believe that any problem that we've worked on so far has been solved. We actually joke internally that we just continue to make new versions of our MVP. So the product that I built in 2016, early 2017, that was MVP 1 and was designed to get us our first 10 customers. Then we built MVP 2 that was supposed to get us 100. And now that we've passed that mark, we've got to figure out how to build a product for 1,000, and the next will be 100,000, then 1 million. But that's how we solve problems, is treating every project like it's our first.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And then how do you see you guys, what are the things that you guys are thinking about to make sure that you can take that next leap again from the 10 to 100, to the 1,000 to 1 million? What's the biggest things that you guys are thinking about now to do that?
So I think the best word to summarize that is automation.
I was about to say screaming and yelling and running around like headless chooks, but yeah, automation.
Yeah. So right. In theory, the word is automation. In practice, it's whatever it takes. But speaking to automation, the way that we're thinking about this is, if we can automate the onboarding process for both sides of the marketplace, the way that contractors come onto the site and say, these are the services that I offer and at these price points. And then the customer is, these are the services that I want, and this is how easy it is to book. Then those are the things that we've optimized for in this next rollout. But the other thing, and this is the way that you and I got together, is we're trying to automate acquisition, right? Because both of those things, a good product, I think that one of the misnomers in startups and technology is that good products sell themselves, and that's just not true. There are some products that will grow with some component of virality. But even that, like, the product isn't selling itself. The users of the product are selling it to other users. But there's always some engine that keeps that flywheel going. So it's first automating the product, so setting ourselves up with the infrastructure that can support a ton of people using it all at one time without breaking.
Yes, that could help.
Yes.
And then about this, driving your model. I mean, investors are constantly looking at, you put in $1, you get, 3 out, and looking at that automation of acquiring users and engaging your marketplace and making sure your unit economics are in check. What are the things that you kind of were thinking about at the beginning versus now what you're thinking now, and what you wish you did quicker about automating unit economics and, automating that scale process? We're going to the big stuff.
So automation, a
You wish you started sooner, right?
Say that again?
You wish you started sooner with the automation stuff.
So no, that is interesting. So I'm not sure who's going to be watching this, but I think that it's worth it to say, right? That a lot of people who set out to start a company or build a technology company think that they should automate things as quickly as possible. And I think that's actually one of the things that worked really well at RemodelMate. You guys will notice that I have a bunch of quotes, and I'm going to continue to drop them. So
go ahead. Drop those.
Bill Gates says that if you add automation to a bad process, you exacerbate the inefficiencies.
Yeah.
If you add automation to a great process, then you exacerbate those efficiencies. So luckily for us, like I come from a construction background. Logan comes from a construction background. John comes from a marketing background. So as far as like knowing what we know, there's no one who told us that we weren't experts in space. Successful startup, a lot of times it's not about being an expert in your space, it's about being an expert on your user. So we did so many things manually, it was painful. And only when it got too painful for us to continue to do it, did we say, okay, we're now going to add some automation. So that I'm not upset about. What do I think I wish I would have done faster? Unit economics. So bootstrap company for 18 months. We just raised our first round 3 months ago.
Yep.
Thank you. We're still accepting checks for anybody who's interested in investing in a very large, fast-growing space. Because I'm shameless.
Get it out there. How can they contact you if they want to talk to you about investment?
They should reach out to me at chad@remodelmate.com, or Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest,
just
anywhere there. My personal handle is CHX as in X-ray, DHX as in X-ray, LL. Chad Hall was taken. It actually belongs to a football player in the US. So Chad Hall, where the A's should be, put X's, and that's how you can reach out to me personally, or reach out to RemodelMate on any one of the platforms. You can send a Raven. However you want to get in contact with me, I'm looking for it.
And how much are you raising and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so we originally set out to raise 400K. We hit that mark. We won a pitch competition, and a part of that pitch was we needed an ask. And we said, well, we already raised the money that we need. And they're like, well, you're going to grow faster after winning this competition. Yeah. So you have to ask for more money. And I was like, but what if we don't win? And they were like, you're going to win. And I'm like, you tell everybody that.
Yep.
Seriously, we would go from 400 to 750. I know we're only doubling the cash, but it'd probably triple our speed. And they were like, okay, great. And since, extending that, we've already closed on another 100,000 in investment. So it was worth it. I was going somewhere before that. Oh, unit economics.
Unit economics, yes, correct.
One of the things that I wish, so that's how I was talking about, we bootstrapped and then we just raised money. Early on, I was so careful about spending money on paid acquisition, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing, we're very disciplined and we figure out, how to get more done with less. But marketplaces often, once you figured out product market fit, so problem solution fit, we knew we had very early because our first dozen customers would use our site even with, it was literally just a landing page that said book a consultation. It wasn't an app, it wasn't fancy. So we knew we had problem market fit. Our marketing spoke to a very specific customer, but a very specific problem. We knew we knocked that out. Yeah. Then we built product. When we finally found product market fit was when that customer segment shrunk. Yeah. So I know that also sounds weird, but it's like, well, you were getting this population, and then you said you got product market fit when went to this? Yes, because the cost and the time to acquire this was like 10 times faster than it was to acquire this. And that's when we were like, that our product fits this market. And one day we'll go back to getting this. But we had figured that out. When we hit that point, I should have like quadrupled how much money I was spending on marketing. Bad habits, and I say that kind of tongue in cheek, meaning not being afraid to spend a lot of money on marketing, slowed down our growth because I was always concerned about like, oh, is this going to work? Blah, 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 blah. And what I really should have done is, you know, if you're building a rocket ship, you need to
take risks.
You need to use jet fuel. Don't put gas in a rocket ship. And then likewise, don't put jet fuel in a car. That would be bad too. So when you find your rocket ship, you should fuel it adequately. Like, go as fast as is responsible.
Yep, perfect. And I guess then when you make those calls as a founder, you know, they always talk about, well, everyone talks about the gut decision. You know, I always feel that as well. How did you respond to that? What were you doing? You know, all those sorts of things.
Losing sleep.
Yep.
And then everybody talks about metrics early on, like, oh, you know, you're raising money, like what is blah, 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 blah. Really early on, you don't care about those things. When you start spending more money, those numbers are really, really important. The gut feeling is good to go on because I think that a lot of people in the world just don't rely enough on their gut, which is why they tend to not build generational companies or market defining companies. People tend to be too safe. But I also think that if you rely on those feelings a little bit more, there's really only two things that are going to happen. You're either going to get to the point where you figured out your win a lot faster, or you're going to figure out that you are actually playing to a losing strategy faster. I think the challenge is that most people just don't, they prefer the ambiguity of, I don't know if this is the right idea, and want to die a slow death. And in reality, I would have preferred to die a fast or a fast death or a fast life. Like either way, it needs to be fast. I don't care what the outcome is.
Yeah, fair enough. That's awesome. And moving forward then, how do you keep upskilling yourself from, I guess, just that gut feeling to make sure you are, I guess, learning as much as you can so you can make those right decisions? So it's less of a, sleepless night.
Sure. So there's really two ways. So now, being in the beginning of year 3, we just have way more data, right? So we can say, like, the last time that we increased spend by 20%, we started to grow by 30%, and like that delta was worth it. So we rely a lot more on data now than gut. But in the scenarios where we don't have data, we act on gut a lot faster.
Cool. And do you listen to any particular podcasts or books or mentors or? So
there are a couple of people. So in terms of people that I follow, I like Rodney Williams. He runs a company called Listener, LISNR. They're using sound to transmit data. The original use case was actually supposed to be an ad spend thing. So you're watching TV and an ad comes on. Most of us are like in our phones, not paying attention. So what if the cable company or the satellite company could hide marketing messages in sound so that any two devices, your TV, which has a speaker, and your phone, which has a microphone, can talk to each other, and while you're on your phone, you get a pop-up for, like, Domino's Pizza is offering the 2 for $10 deal, blah, 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 blah. The interesting thing is that, much like I was wrong in my initial assumption, he was also wrong. And he realized that because he's using sound, contrary to like Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, he can actually send much more data using sound at faster speed than any existing portal or interface. So now they're getting into payments, opening and closing doors, anything that you rely on a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth connection today will be adopted by the listener in the future. So it's probably my favorite founder to follow right now. He helps me out with mentorship. Another one is Justin Goldman. He's on startup number 4, RemodelMate, which essentially is a 203K loan. It's a construction loan that allows you to borrow against the after renovation value of your house versus the current value. So you can think of how that works well for my business. If your house is worth $200,000 now, but you're going to do a new kitchen and a new bathroom, and when it's all said and done, the house will be worth $300,000. Then you get to borrow a lot more money today. Versus existing products that work at your traditional bank are going to say like, I'll only let you borrow this small percentage based on how much the house is worth today. Podcast, personal favorite is probably Reid Hoffman. So I think that Reid is quite possibly the most humble person in Silicon Valley in technology, whatever. So he's a part of the PayPal mafia. He built LinkedIn and figured out how to really champion network effects when everybody thought that he was building a social media site. I think genius, and that his insight on almost any vertical is worth taking a listen to. And it's interesting that while in my opinion, he's never built a marketplace. Some people might look at LinkedIn as a marketplace. Every time that I listen to his podcast, I pick up something new. And then I've probably read every single book that there is to read about Uber, Airbnb, and Amazon. So that's my answer.
No, thank you. And I guess, what does the future hold for you guys at RemodelMate? Where are you going? What's the big bad dream? Well, not bad, the big bold one.
So the big hairy goal is that we are going to democratize the HGTV experience, right? So we're going to bring the flip this house experience where homeowners are super knowledgeable about what's happening to their house, how long it's going to take, how much it's going to cost, and bringing that to their smartphone. So much so that we're going to empower these local contractors, these 4 to 10 person teams, to completely upend the big construction companies that I worked for, because they'll no longer be necessary. We think that the industry profits off of the obscurity. The lack of information is what drives the business. And then you'll see really big players like Clark Construction, Davis Construction, JBG Smith, these people that have been in real estate for 120 years, Lowe's, those companies, where in the past consolidation has been good, and one person wins. We're going to do it in reverse. So we will still be the winner in the space, I guess, but we will empower micro engagements, similar to how Uber disrupted transportation, or Airbnb with hospitality. I know people say that a lot because it's cliche and buzzy, but I truly believe that this is the next frontier. The 100-year-old industry that hasn't changed, And if we're right, we're going to be able to make a ton of homeowners happy and help a lot of small businesses compete with these bigger guys who just have more people, not necessarily better processes, right? So now we're being able to insert technology and say you don't need to have a bigger team because your process is 10 times more efficient than that team that's 10 times bigger than yours. And in the meantime, you make some cash.
Yep, that makes sense. And is there any startups that you look at and go, wow, like that's really impressive, and that you kind of, it makes you want to run a little bit faster besides the big people, any small to mediums?
So my favorite startup right now is actually Lambda School. Lambda, like the Greek letter for L.
Yep.
It's run by a guy named Austin. Not a marketplace. It's actually an ed tech company. So what they do is, if you don't come from a technical background, you can go into their engineering boot camp, which takes 12 weeks, and then it's absolutely free. You don't pay for your education until you get a job in your field. I think that
it's really cool.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Not because you're teaching more people how to get into tech, but if you look at other engineering boot camps, right, they've always put the onus on the student. Like, here's 10 grand, invest in your future, figure out how to bring technology. Whereas they're saying, no, we're so good at this that we can guarantee that you're going to get a job, which is why we've deferred payment. I think that there are a lot of naysayers, and I think that I tend to want to root for the underdog more so than not. But I think that what everybody is missing about what Austin is doing is he has taken the public education system and figured out a way to do it better. If you think about it, it's the same exact process. You go to primary school, so K through 12 in the US, for free. And then when you graduate and you get a job, you pay taxes, which is how the school continues to students. I think that the cool thing is that the government will always be capped by their impact. Whereas a private organization currently, and one day a public organization, I'm rooting for you, Austin, will be.
No pressure at all.
Say that again?
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. He's going to change the world. It's not just going to be a United States thing. So just
the education system is not caught up, and the government system has not caught up with how fast the world is moving. It has to happen. Yeah.
So just imagine today it's software engineering, but imagine if this is how every skill that a business really needs is taught in this way, right? So you're taught sales, marketing, operations, engineering, management. Everything is built on this model. I think that that's really revolutionary. It's a $1 trillion idea. We celebrate Amazon and Apple for crossing those milestones, but I think that's what he's onto. I look at it and I would like to say that I went to school in a pretty good school district here in the States. But I can't tell you the last time that I used a lot of the information that I was taught. Like I've never found the cosine of an angle, or
that's exactly what I thought of the moment you sit in maths class and they're like, you're gonna need this, and it's everyone always thinks of that. You're like, when have I ever needed it? Our maths is rolling right now as we say this.
I know a maths teacher is definitely upset at me right this second, especially because I use math in software and like creating algorithms and stuff like that. But it's addition, multiplication, subtraction, division, and I guess like computation. Like that's the furthest that like we go, right? I've never know. I don't know. I just think about other things. So I think English and maths are good, but like I don't need it after like 6th grade. And then history and science, I think, should be specific to the field that you'd like to go in, right? So if you're going to be an astronaut, I think that biology, chemistry, physics, those are all important, because when we go to a new planet, we're going to need to know how to create crops and be self-sustaining.
Well,
and
do as Jason did, right?
Right, exactly.
Science the shit out of it.
Right, science the shit out of it. But if we're going to be, you know, if I know that I want to write computer software programs, then I need you to tell me how to run a customer interview. Show me how to do design, right? We need arts classes, graphic design, give me marketing classes. I could care less about, you know, history. I learned about so many things that just aren't relevant to my day-to-day. It makes me a better world citizen, yes. But a lot of times people
know what we want. And, you know, I want to be a chef at that age.
So I can't lie about that. When I was a little kid, I told my mom I wanted to be Bill Gates. She thought that what I was saying is I want to be really wealthy. But what I was really saying is that I want to be a nerd who is also a business person. And when I was younger, Bill Gates was the epitome of that. So that's what I've always wanted to be, this guy. I just didn't know how I would get there or what I would build. Yeah, that's my point, is like, from a very young age, like if I knew that this is what I wanted to do, then I should have learned how to write, you know, my first line of code when I was 10, not when I was 26.
Yes, no, I completely agree. I mean, they're still teaching in universities. They're like, and this is social media. And it's like, yeah, I've walked through uni class before. Nuts. It's just not picking up. And the teachers, the teachers' education and how then they're being kept up with what's happening in industry and what's going is happening too fast. So the system's just broken, and, you know, it's nobody's fault. It's just this move forward. So how do we keep up?
Yeah, and the systems in place right now are not built for innovation. They're like you educational plans, you know, 3 or 6 months in advance, and you know the world moves in days.
Yeah,
you know, sometimes hours. So
it's nuts.
It's going to be different, and I think that Lambda School is just the first version of the disruption that's going to happen specifically in education.
Oh, it's awesome. Well, we wish them all the best as well. And thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. It was great to meet you. And yeah, we'll see you next time on the Marketplace Meetup.
Sounds good.
Don't